All right, we'll go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tech. No, this isn't the Texas Podcast Massacre. I apologize. Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Going No.
Nope.
Oh shit. What is this?
Just
Two dudes
talking about love.
talking about love.
Talking about love.
We're doing Sammy Hagar.
That's right.
He's talking about love
That's right.
versus.
For unlawful carnal knowledge.
I'm drawing the.
Right now.
Well, because Sammy Hagar, this was Must Be Love. Oh, you're wearing a Van Halen shirt
And I
too.
literally wearing it.
Oh,
And that was not planned.
Not planned
Not
at
planned.
all. And then I'm blanking on his name.
David Lee Roth.
Roth. Yeah, David Lee Roth wasn't talking about love.
He was not.
Like that's how you just that's how you
he was talking
distinguish.
about,
He ain't talking about love. He's talking about porking.
he's talking about California girls.
So he goes, how can you tell the difference between or Van Hagar and David Lee Roth's Van Halen's? Like, he was more lovey. I was more about doing it. Like, but this is the what was for relationship advice for guys, but it's now morphed into something I think bigger and probably more beneficial to everybody, not just incel guys who can't get laid.
Yeah. So we're gonna give you advice too.
Yeah,
If
we're not leaving you out, guys.
No, we're gonna give you some helpful hints on. I
Very
don't know if
much.
it's gonna get you laid, but it may at least like
Make you less of a creep.
I at least want to get you to like second base.
There you go.
At best.
Yeah, or a kiss. Maybe a kiss.
How about How about a hearty handshake?
A hearty, handy handshake.
Handy handshake.
Yeah, be less of a creep.
Yeah, don't be a creeper.
Yeah, and so we have you on today, sir. And today you're not going to be Dirty Derek. Not for this.
No.
You have to be
We're gonna be the love doctor today.
the love
I'm gonna be.
Dr. Derek.
That's right, love Dr. Derek.
There we go. Because Dirty Derek, I wouldn't take you. I'd be as a credible source.
No, I would not be. If I was wearing that persona today, I would be on the creeper side. So I'd be listening for advice.
Yeah.
How do you-
Go
how do you-
go and pick up the microphone just a little bit.
How do you
Or no, just
Oh.
just flip it up.
flip
There
it
we
up
go.
like that?
There you go.
Okay. I mean, how do you find love when your moniker is the dirtiest of D's?
Oh, Pamela and Angela only.
Exactly. So I mean,
This is and again just to break it apart more. I was only going to have only girls on this new series that we're doing. But I had that couple come in, and it just like opened up my horizons.
I
Like,
was just finishing up that episode on my way in.
oh wow, what did you think? So I mean, think about it. Like these are 23-year-olds,
Yes.
right? 23-year-olds that met when they were 20 on Tinder.
So I listened to it, and the first thing I thought of is like, wow, online dating takes so much work. Like he was changing his profile daily.
Yeah, who changes that daily?
Like seriously, I don't even change my Facebook status daily
Right.
ever.
I don't even change my underwear daily. Oh, I mean, what?
I mean, disregard that, ladies.
I digress.
I forget you said. Can we fix that in post?
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post. It just seems super complicated to me.
Yeah, I mean when it's solely based on like physical attraction, like, and I guess you would have to because you got to catch them somehow. I mean, you can only look at so many good-looking dudes or chicks, and you got to stand out a little bit. So I guess changing it would be beneficial to him, but
Yeah.
it was just. I mean, I just think about because when I was his age, we're all 19. I tried Plenty of Fish once. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's still around. It's still really
Now they have you have Match.com, you have Plenty of Fish, you got Tinder, you got
Bumble.
Bumble, yeah. So like one of my favorite things to do is like to sit with my single friends who are trying this and like try to help them. Like, no, that guy looks like creeper. Keep going. Swipe it.
And you can. I think there's a good discernment from if you're helping out a girl. You can look at a
Yeah.
guy's like that guy's going. If you want to hook up, that's your guy. But if you want a relationship, it's definitely
That's
not.
not your guy.
And I know it's judgmental, but I think we've been around enough dudes to see like.
Well, I think it's meant to be judgmental though, right? Like, I mean,
I
that's
mean,
the whole
yeah,
thing.
it's
You're
100%.
literally, like,
Yeah,
I mean, you're pretty much like interviewing for a relationship.
you are.
online.
Yeah, it's your online
It-
resume,
it's-
your
it's
dating
liter-
resume.
It's literally your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So if you're still working at Mickey D's, it ain't working for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least you have a job. At least you have
least
that. But
At
you
least
know,
have a job.
you gotta have you better be charismatic as fuck. Like,
That's right.
I mean, you better be funny. You better be skinny and ripped, or
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you pretty much have to be Chris Helmsworth level, like flinging burgers.
oh yeah,
At
exactly.
that, I mean, you better be like taking the fry grease or something and dripping on your chest. I mean, that's and not breaking out when you're done. Like,
You know, I think about. I mean, I guess if you were young, it's okay. Uh, well, I guess we'll kind of jump into it. It's like,
yeah.
is there an age where you shouldn't be working at McDonald's?
Oh,
I
that's
mean, if you're trying to like pursue something and you're not like a manager or something.
all right. Yeah. So here's my thought on that. Like, if you're people hit blips in the road. So I guess
Yeah.
my thought is like, if it were me, if I were tomorrow like unemployed and I just needed a job,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I go. If I couldn't find it,
Absolutely.
I flip burgers, even if it's just for a few weeks.
Relationship should be the
Like,
last thing on your
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if that is like been my primary income for a very long time, and I'm not a manager, and I'm still working the Nugget station, like there's a yeah, I feel like any time past like 25, you should not be working.
If
there.
you're not
Like,
retired either.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're not retired, I mean, I guess if you're looking for something to do,
Yeah.
or like maybe you have a limited ability to
Absolutely.
to work, like okay,
But if you're an able-bodied male adult
yeah.
over the age of 25,
Yeah, and you were not working there in like some type of leadership capacity.
not pursuing anything else.
Nope. Then
Yeah.
you got to go.
Yeah.
I would almost think that being on unemployed would be far more attractive than that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I mean, and it's not a dig. It's supposed to be like an entry-level job to
it's
jobs.
a gateway job.
Yeah, it really is. It
know?
really is. It taught me a lot working at McDonald's.
You know, yeah. One of my jobs when I was younger, I worked at a Burger King. You
Yeah.
know, like, and here's the difference. So that was like one of my first jobs, and I went back to that same Burger King. I was in my hometown,
Uh-huh.
maybe close to about like 18 years later, and went to Burger King and still saw
Oh no.
one of the guys that used to work there like working at Burger King, and I'm like, fuck, dude, like
The same
we're
position?
now like, yeah, he's just working the front end. I'm like, he's definitely not a manager. I know that much.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, we're like, I'm like 30. I was 37 at the time.
Oh.
I'm like, you're, I think you're even like a year older than me. So you're like probably a little bit closer to 40. Like, bro, like, no, not to dig in like hard times or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be, but it was never a gentleman that had a high amount of aspirations.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably was in his wheelhouse or vein.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you think about something like that, and you're that age working there, and you think about a relationship, I mean, your selection is going to be slim pickings.
It is probably going to be the other 40-year-old woman that was working at the fry counter as well.
No, this one works at Burger
Yeah,
King.
yeah, at your competitor. Yeah, working at your competitor. I mean, yeah, it's just I think your pool slims down quite a bit when there's other factors against you like that, and you're not ripped and
Yeah.
gorgeous like you're not a McDreamy type situation.
McDreamy, get it? No pun intended.
no pun intended. Yeah, when you're not in that scenario and you work there as
Oh,
well, like
you can offer me free nuggies.
that's the trifecta. Kind of comes to you. Yeah, I don't know what my break's gonna be, but I only got a 15-minute we can hang out in the parking lot. Like, I haven't hung out in the parking lot of Burger King since I was getting high in high school. Like I'm not gonna make it my relationship spot either.
Yeah, exactly.
But I digress.
Well, that's a good one, sir. But hey, let's tell the audience. What a single, married, divorced.
I'm
I know, but that's how I set up the question.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm married.
Uh-huh.
Been married going on 19 years.
Jeez,
now.
congratulations, sir.
Long time.
You are not the statistic.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I probably should be to some degree.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
just because.
Well, I mean, I was married young in a very quick relationship.
Gotcha.
And I probably a lot of people were hedging their bets like on my wedding day, whether or not it would get. I remember this in just one time before I met my wife. My friends and I were all hanging out around like a bonfire, drinking a beer, and we were like, "Where do you see yourselves in like 20 years?" And all my friends are like, at least divorce once, and I'm like, fuck, really? I'm like, really? But at the time, like you know, my life was pretty like fast paced. Like
Mhm.
I definitely not the guy I am today. So
Yeah.
very fast paced and hard partying and like like flying by the seat of my pants.
Absolutely.
So I mean, yes, I totally get that. That would probably be like, yeah, if you find somebody, you're probably gonna fuck it up some way, shape, or how.
Story of my life.
Yeah, but yeah, married for a long time, 2 kids, teenagers,
Uh-huh.
2 teenagers. So yeah, being in the dating field is been far removed from that. But
Absolutely, but you do live vicariously through friends and stories
yeah,
and stuff
and
like
I feel like I had enough of a pool of relationships beforehand.
Yeah, and
that,
and I'll set it up too, sir. You're very well liked. Like I'm like above well liked as far as people come to you for advice, people come to you for support, even just to vent for a little bit. So I'm sure you have your share of stories too, other than before getting married as well.
Sure. Yeah.
That way you stayed current and in the loop.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to like, and here's my thing, right? Like everybody's idea of like relationship is all different. So
Yeah.
like, number one, I'm never gonna judge like, unless you guys are like cannibals or something like
Yeah.
that. And even then I'd be like, well,
Cannibals or kid diddlers.
yeah, kid diddlers. Yeah, we don't diddle kids. It's a common theme in all our podcasts. We don't diddle kids. But yeah, I mean, unless it's something extremely atrocious, like you
Yeah.
get puppies on the weekend, then I'm not going to judge. Like it's whatever. I am an unjudgmental ear.
Absolutely.
Like, and I would just hope like that if she was on the other foot, that it would be the same way. So,
Exactly.
Try to be, and I'm glad people feel comfortable telling me stuff.
Yeah.
Because I also try to keep it to myself. Like
Absolutely.
Engage in like super gossipy.
Yeah, and that's why you're here. I mean, not for gossip, but to share
Yeah.
stories you've heard.
Yeah.
But I think you've, with people telling you these things, like you're able to have a general consensus of do's and don'ts,
Yeah.
rights and wrongs, which stuff that should be common sense, but it's not really.
Yeah,
because people lack it.
People do lack common sense sometimes, which is funny because you would think like some of this stuff, but I guess part of it is too like what I would deem common sense, like maybe just other people's lives have not had them
Matured there
yet. So yeah, I mean, I take it with a grain of salt. If you're not there yet, I will tell you like that.
Yeah, and you've probably been there too.
Yeah,
You
of
have to
course.
lived and learned. Yeah.
The common motto in my house is just because my wife is very reserved and like, definitely not a troublemaker and all that stuff. And so I always tell my kids like, let me be dumb for you. I've done enough dumb stuff and smart stuff in my life. Like, I'm gonna be straight with you. Like, I'm gonna tell you if I've done something really dumb to avoid you doing something really dumb.
The difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, and I take that in, especially now that my kids are at that age where they, they're kind of exploring dating and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you like that straight up does not seem like a good idea or not. So
a little off track, but
Sure.
As a father, you, not me.
Yeah.
Is that a scary thing?
It is fucking terrifying, and for a lot of reasons. But what terrifies me the most is kids nowadays and like teenagers nowadays are so much more complex than I ever remember
Absolutely.
being. Now maybe because we're in a more open society now that it's okay for people to be much more freer.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a story. I told my daughter that I was going to tell this on the podcast, so it wouldn't be a surprise if she happened to listen to this and overheard it. Her and her friends are like so inspired by our podcast, and they're trying to create their own podcast.
Awesome.
They recorded 2 hours last night and forgot to record.
Oh,
so I was like, welcome to podcast.
That happens.
101.
That happens.
So yeah, my daughter told, my daughter has a very, it's what I love about her. She's definitely not a judgmental person either. And so she has a wide variety of friends, and some of them are straight, some of them are trans, some of them have different relationships, different home lives, which I think is awesome. Like they're all very accepting of each other. And so her friend who's trans and identifies as male, had a boyfriend that was also male and straight. And so she told me the other day, well, they broke up, and she's dating so and so now, another one of their friends, or he's dating so and so, another one of their friends. And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. Like who broke up with who, just trying to kind of be
Yeah.
a listening ear for my daughter. I picked
Yeah.
her up from driver's ed, and she was like, well, you know, so and so wanted to be in a polyamorous relationship and wanted to be with this other guy, but his current boyfriend didn't want that and kind of wanted to be in a single relationship, and so they said, well, look, this is what's going to make me happy, and if you can't be part of that
Right.
circle, then I'm just gonna date this other person and like break up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck. I'm like, really?
That was never an
I'm
issue.
like, that was never an issue.
That
Like,
was called cheating.
I was like, I mean, yeah, I mean, literally, I mean, I've seen people say like, I'm gonna be with that person and dump you, but never
Yeah.
like, hey, can I just have you both at the same time? I mean, that's like
The balls,
that
like,
would
like,
be-
like,
that would-
like.
I mean, back in the day that would have been epic, but
Yeah,
but two,
right,
like,
exactly.
Nobody would have gone for that. They would have been like, no. So this, of
The,
course-
I mean, seriously, the balls to ask, like, hey, like back in the day, to
Yeah.
ask that, like, hey, can this person be with us too?
Yeah.
Like, no,
Just
like,
jump
absolutely
in. Can they
not.
also be my girlfriend at the time?
Like,
Like,
no,
no. Not at all. Like, and so
that is complex.
So it's funny because I was like, wow, like, do you guys like really understand what like polyamorous means? And,
Yeah.
And of course, she did. She explained to me it's like when you want to be with more than one person and share your life. And I'm like, and do you understand like how complicated that is? Like, and the complexities that come with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I will just caution you, like. I would never start thinking about any of that until you were like much older and have a lot more life
Absolutely.
experience. Like,
Yeah.
and if that's where you choose to go, like as always, like I accept your life and how you live
Right.
it. But like, look, like
It's a lot of
I'm
work.
Just cautioning you how complicated that is, like, or how complicated it can be
Yeah.
from a societal standpoint and just in a relationship standpoint. I'm like, it's hard enough sometimes balancing one person in your life. let alone,
Exactly.
like,
And
multiple
being a teen.
and I was like,
Oh, my
yeah,
God.
like, honestly, just be single. And like, and so I was like, if you really want to do that, I'm like, just be single, date a lot of people. Like, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's super complicated. So yeah, I was like, man, I'm like, it's so terrifying. I'm like, it's just they take it up like a notch, and then yeah, and then on the other hand, my son is super traditional, and he's just like, just want to find somebody to love and marry and have kids with, and I'm like, okay.
Awesome.
That's cool. And like, so I was like, yeah, so I have one kid who's just very open and fluid, and I have another kid who's just like, I just want to live a traditional life. And I'm like, that's, okay.
But you got two different worlds.
Two very different worlds.
That's amazing.
But he doesn't date a whole lot, so I don't worry as much. But
Yeah.
my daughter, being a teenage girl, it's always like, and she does have a boyfriend, like, and I say that in quotes because they don't do anything other than like hang out with their friends.
Is that pickle guy?
He's pickle guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pickle guy. Yeah, I just for anybody who doesn't know, my daughter's boyfriend came over to my house. And mind you, I am not a pickle fan. Nobody in my house likes pickles. Absolutely. So usually when you come over to somebody's house and you bring food that, like, if you want to bring something over, like, bring something that probably everybody's gonna eat.
Yeah.
He just brought this big ass jar of like huge pickles to my house. Nobody's gonna fucking eat pickles, buddy. Like, number one, I hate pickles. Why are you bringing them out? You're not impressing me. And then just proceed to like eat pickles like the entire time.
That sounds just the worst day. Oh, that smell.
And then like, yeah, and I just like, as he was leaving, he was like trying to leave the pickles. I'm like, take the pickles with you. Bro. Nobody's gonna eat those pickles. So
They're gonna turn back into cucumbers. So please
I'm
take
like,
them.
seriously, they're gonna go from here to the bin like in 2 seconds. Like, just take them with you, eat them on the ride home. And just so many pickles were gone. I mean, it was a huge jar, and by the time they were leaving, it was just like pickle brine, like sloshing. I'm like, how many pickles did you eat? Like, I'm just so disturbed by now.
Do you get a lot of cramps or what's
I
going
was
on?
like, also in context to once a week she tells me something about him, and I'm like, what is? It's a nice enough kid, but what is wrong with this kid? He doesn't like cake. He doesn't eat chocolate. He's allergic to peanut butter. He's never had a raspberry until he started dating my daughter. I'm like, what? But every time, like, my daughter goes over his house, I'm like, well, what did he cook? She's like, chili dogs. I'm like, oh my God, does he know how to cook anything else? It's like chili dogs or spaghetti. And I'm like, I'm just like, can you give him a cookbook for his birthday maybe or something? Like, maybe teach him.
Or like even like a one-sheet cookbook.
Yeah, I was like, or different hot dog recipes. Like, you can put something other than chili on it.
You can mix eggs.
Eggs, something, yeah. But, I mean, at 15, like, if that's the worst thing, I guess they got to deal with it.
I mean, if he's cooking at 15, regardless of what it is, Yeah, that's a good dude.
I was like, all right, you know, you're trying, you know,
Yeah.
you're trying, but he's just a knucklehead.
That's like my worst fear about having kids, or more so having a daughter, and just thinking about teenage, and then it's just like,
Yeah.
like
I mean, it's funny too because like she gets like super embarrassed. We talk about like, hey, make it out with your boyfriend, like, you know. And she got so mad at me because like the first time they like were smooching, and I was like got home and I'm like, oh, she was smooching in the parking lot, and she was like, Dad, you timed me out. I'm like,
You
it was,
narked.
I'm like, and I narked on her. I was like, it was gonna come out anyways. You don't have a poker face. Like we all know. We were there once. I'm like, it's fine. Smooching in the parking lot is the worst.
Do you remember your first kiss?
I do remember my first kiss.
Was it awkward or actually just tell the story?
No, I was like 7 at the time.
7?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I was at daycare and
Daycare.
Yeah, I was at daycare. So my very first girlfriend. Yeah, I was an after school program. My parents worked a lot, and yeah, I remember it was like vacation or something like that. And I don't remember. Her name was Melissa Brooks.
Nice.
Cute little blonde. And
Nice.
yeah, we're smooching in the bushes, you know.
You're smooching
then-
with my brother.
And then I kissed her friend. And
Oh,
I-
hey, heyo.
But I didn't ask if they could be in my girlfriend.
No.
together.
You were
That's
just dating. You were
I was
just,
dating.
you
We
putting
just
your.
casually played around. And then like a week later, her new boyfriend like shoved my head in the sand and then like stole my girlfriend. So that's schoolyard politics right there.
School hard knocks.
But I would say yeah, my first like true like make out session was my first like high school girlfriend. Her name was Amy. She was like 1 grade above me.
Okay.
It was like met it through a schoolmate of mine, Jason. Thank you, Jason, for all the lovely memories. And we dated for a while. It was my first like kind of like true like girlfriend relationship, and she ended up dumping me for a guy named Mo. So
Fuck you, Mo.
Yeah. fuck you, Mo. So yeah, that was the start of my relationship.
You remember when like you would get excited to kiss a girl, like
That was like literally, I could not wait for school to end because I knew I was gonna meet her.
that was
and-
sex.
and walk with her. But I will say, here's some things, guys. All right, even at that young age of like 14, like I knew enough to buy flowers for this girl. Like that was
Right.
like I bought 1 single rose. I was like,
I think that's a good point.
yeah, right.
Like-
Like don't forget, like to be thoughtful.
It doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be expensive.
No.
It's the thought. It
doesn't.
sounds so cliche, but the thought really does count.
It does.
It's like, hey, you thought of me, like while we weren't together, to get me something.
Yeah.
Like that's beautiful.
I was like, went to homecoming. We went to a homecoming thing together, and, and I bought her a flower, and I was like trying to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
Gentleman-like. So guys, don't forget like between Tinder and Bumble and all that other shit that's out there. Don't forget to be a gentleman. It doesn't have to be flowers, but just like truly, I would say truly listen.
Yes.
And be attentive. Like,
Yeah.
And I'll say if you're with that person, shut off your fucking phone. Like,
At 100. That. Thank you, sir.
Shut off your phone.
You know what?
Shut off this podcast right now.
Yeah.
And pay attention to your lady
Yeah.
or your significant other, and then like come back to it. when you're alone.
Exactly.
Like,
or listening to it together.
yeah, let's do it together.
Yeah.
Listen, and she's nodding her head right now. She's like, "Yep,
Yeah.
Shut off that damn phone. You're always on there.
Exactly.
You're always. I was playing Clash of Clans, you motherfucker." But yeah, I would say that's like that. As much as I love technology, that is probably a crucial downfall.
Yeah.
Is that you spend a lot of more time on your phone than you do.
Absolutely.
Like sit next to somebody too. Like sit next to somebody, talk to them.
You're with that person
Yeah.
for that moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Not to say you can't be on your phones together, like doing stuff, but like when there's quality time.
Yeah.
Quality time.
It's fun.
Especially if you're new in a relationship.
it'll
Like,
be there.
that's- Yeah, I mean, believe me, like which would you rather do? Play on your phone or play your cards out? You may get a makeout session out of it.
Yeah.
Like, put down your phone.
Might get a little ankle grab.
Hey, you know what? That's right. Amish style. Be showing those ankles.
Yeah, just showing them off.
Showing them off. But yeah, smooching is it's important.
Man, I remember I was so excited to always make out. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, that was every day. Every day I'd meet her after class. Last period we walked to where we were going to our bus route or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll always be a quick like makeout session. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah.
yeah,
bud,
sets you
buddy.
right. Look
It
at
was, it's the highlight of my day. I didn't care how I did on that algebra test. But
fuck
I got
algebra. Just
make
made
out
out.
with my lady. So
Yeah, Yeah.
It was great. She was actually she's a very nice kisser.
And so
Got a lot of chapped lips.
so prior to okay, so I mean that
Yeah.
you're around 14, so in 6 years from then you would be married with your wife, right?
Yeah, so I was just a little bit past the age. Yeah, it was probably like maybe about 7 years after. I was just a little bit past 21
Okay.
when we started dating.
Yeah.
So
But before then, in between then, I mean, was there a lot of dating going on?
yeah, I think I was trying to like play the field
Yeah.
a lot. I will say I had a lot of really great girlfriends,
Uh-huh.
and I had a lot of really
Not so great girlfriends.
not so great
There
girlfriends.
you
I
go.
had some very terrible girlfriends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I fortunate enough in high school. I feel like I had the relationships I did have were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, I had a really great girlfriend. I totally screwed it up, but I will say that she was amazing. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, do you mind sharing how
yeah,
you
no,
screwed it
I
up?
will share. Yeah, this is a good life lesson for anybody. Don't care what your friends think. First and foremost.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had this girl in my Latin class. Her name was Sarah. She was great, pretty, and smart. I think it was twofold. The reason it went downhill quick. Number one, we did spend a lot of time together, and I feel like at that time in my life, I didn't really feel like I was very like as worthy of
Uh-huh.
being in that relationship with her. So I felt like maybe like she was a little like higher class.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
just to
yeah.
say, like,
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
little out of my league.
Yeah,
So there was,
absolutely. Like,
there
why
was-
are you with me?
there was
Like,
a lot of like a level of like self doubt. Like, wow, like there's no way this is gonna last. Like,
yeah.
she was headed off to college. She knew what she was gonna do. I didn't quite know what I was gonna do in my life yet.
Yeah.
So
Rock
I
and
think
roll
there was-
band. You're gonna be a rock star.
I'm gonna be a rock star. I was gonna do something, but it wasn't gonna be like traditional.
Exactly.
And at the time too, some of the people I was hanging out with, they wanted to go out there. They wanted to go hang out and smoke butts and play pool and like,
Yeah.
meet girls and like hear this like had this great person that I was spending time with.
Right.
It was like, oh, like spend time with my friends or spend time.
It's
with
a
this girl.
dilemma. It's a
And,
dilemma, yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was just like, okay, I obviously picked wrong. and I was like, no, I'm just gonna break it off. Like, I'm not worthy. It's gonna go nowhere. And,
Wow.
so I called off. I still remember this day how upset she was. I would say like everybody's got a relationship in their life that's like the great white whale. It's like the
100%.
Moby Dick
Yeah.
situation, and she was my great white whale.
Yeah.
And even though like I'm married and she seems very happily married, and we're friends on Facebook, and happy to be friends with her.
Yeah.
It was always that one regret of like what could have been.
Yeah.
But a sweetheart, and definitely didn't deserve to get dumped.
That's
so-
interesting. Were your were your friends like say no, like not to be with her, or
No, I just think that they. Yeah, I think. I don't think it was a whole lot of pressure. I think I was putting more pressure on myself than that. I think they were single. And,
yeah, they're like, we
and
want to fucking hang out, dude.
Yeah, and
Like,
I just made I just made some new friends. And,
Yeah.
So it was like, I was hanging out with them all the time. We
Yeah.
worked together, so it was like kind of like, oh, this is cool and new, and I was hanging out with some new buddies, and so I was like, I just don't like. And then I also have a girlfriend on the side that like is obviously needs attention and
Yeah.
wants to hang out, and it's like, okay, I don't know.
So how do you find that balance? What would be your advice for balance there?
I would say judge of what's more important to you.
Yeah.
Like if you're really committed to like having a relationship. Well, so I'm going to say this. Like number one, I don't think any relationship you should be solely reliant on like your significant other.
Right.
I feel like you should be able to have different interests and different
Absolutely.
friends and be able to do things separately from each other and be okay with doing things separately from each other.
100%.
However, I will say like there has to be a level of okayness on both ends
Uh-huh.
to be able to do that, and I would say like that's a conversation to have like with the person you're dating
Right.
or want to date, and be like, hey, I also have friends that like to hang out with me, and obviously I want to commit to this relationship. Like, what is reasonable to you? Like, what's okay to you?
Yeah.
Like, hanging out with them like on the weekends, or like obviously we're gonna do things. Would you want to do things together, like all of us? Or
Yeah.
if they have maybe it's if they have girlfriends or whatever, then you spend time with everybody.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, or they're like, no, I'm not a social person. You do your thing, we'll do our thing. I just say find the balance, like, but be communicative about it. Like,
Yeah.
be open.
Absolutely.
Don't try to like juggle it alone, because somebody's gonna end up feeling left out, at the end of the day. I mean, hopefully your friends would understand that you're in a new relationship and you want to make that work.
Yeah.
But obviously, just don't ditch your friends either.
Yeah.
So I've been in that boat too, and that's not a fun boat
It's not.
to be in, especially. And obviously, if you're, if you're on the other end, if your, significant other is coming to you with this and saying, hey, like I really am just trying to find a balance between spending time with you and spending time with my friends. Don't ever suggest, if they ever suggest to you to like ditch your friends just to solely to be out with them, like that's a big red flag, right?
Yeah.
There. Like don't, like obviously you want to spend time with them, but like if they're telling you to like abandon people that you've known for a long time,
Yeah.
that's not okay too. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think it's just being open and like spot the warning signs.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they
pretty early
should
on.
be there. If it makes you feel uncomfortable or
Yeah.
to where you're having to break who you really are deep inside, yeah, definitely, like, you just kind of take a step back and, like, analyze it.
Or if you have to keep secrets, if you're like, I'm going to go hang out with my friends, but then it's like, oh, I can't go out tonight. I'm doing something, but it's like hang out with your girlfriend or significant other. Like,
Yeah.
the second you start building up those walls of secrecy,
Yeah.
like you're doomed from the get go. Like
Yeah.
on either end, you're going to lose your friends, you're going to lose your girlfriend, or you're going to
Yeah.
lose all the above. So,
It's tough out there.
but. But yeah, I mean, in that relationship, it definitely was it was a learning moment.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the moment where I started like caring. I think I started caring more about like, okay, well, what do I want?
Yeah.
Versus like, what do other people in my life want?
Yeah.
Like, everybody should be, being an adult should be able to deal with like, other people being in relationships.
But
So.
but what about that self doubt that you had? How did you overcome that as far as not feeling good enough? Because I've been in a couple of relationships too. My ex wife included. Like I just like, how is this woman with me like for so long?
Yeah.
And I never felt worthy enough.
So I will tell you that it was a long, long road
Uh-huh.
to get to that point. And in between that one relationship and my current relationship, there was a lot of really bad relationships in there where
Yeah.
I just put myself in relationships with people that like that I wasn't worthy of, that wasn't worthy of my time.
Right.
And they were just not great people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who like basically fed into being like, well, you're not good enough. Like you're not smart enough. You're not, and very much like verbally
Abusive.
Abusive. Yeah. I mean, I had one girlfriend, Sharon, because I think a lot of times we hear about in relationships about women being in those relationships. I think we tend as men not to like share like men being in those relationships
Absolutely.
either, but it does exist.
It
like,
does.
So all the ladies out there have guy friends. Like your guy friends have probably gone through something like this.
Mhm.
And I dated this girl named Erin. I met her. I should have known a big red flag at the get go, guys. That I was a freshman in college, and she came to a college party with my roommate was throwing, and ended up leaving with me. So it tells you everything you need to know, right then and there.
Yeah.
So she was an only child. There was some just big red flags. She was very much a daddy's girl. Like got everything she
Gotcha.
wanted.
Well, yeah.
So right from the get go, it was like your way or the highway. But it was a level like even to the point like where like as we further along the relationship, like even her parents were like, you got to be nicer to this guy. Like you're not like treating
throwing
him
it
well.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like your parents are telling you to be nicer, and like things would happen. She just wouldn't get her way. She'd throw a fit, and then it would get taken on me like
Wow.
verbally. So
And you would
like,
always have to like take.
yeah,
it, like,
and I
like-
think inherently being a nice guy, I think it didn't work in my favor because
Yeah.
I was always trying to see the better in people.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just are not better. Sometimes people are just terrible people or not good in relationships.
Yeah.
They have their lessons to learn too. So
Was it Captain Sabaho though? Like as far in meaning like, were you trying to fix her? Or?
I think I think initially I think it was like there were some red flags. I was like, no, like I can get past through this. Like
Yeah.
she's not that bad of a person, and
No one's
you know,
perfect.
yeah, and then it was starting to be like, no, don't hang out with your friends. Like hang out with me. Like you want to hang out with them. Like
And I
obviously
get it,
don't
like
like
once
that.
or twice, like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, like it's
But,
this and
yeah,
this,
and then it was an all the time
regular
thing.
thing.
Yeah. Then it was isolating me from my family, and then it was isolating me from my close friends.
So really, just a codependent relationship.
yeah, it's just like sucking you in, like, and then there was a point where I was just pretty much living in her house all the time. Like I had moved out of, I kind of stopped going to school.
Wow.
I moved out of moved out of my dorm because nobody in my dorm liked her. So it's like, well, fuck you guys. Like I left on break and I never came back. And,
Yeah.
and even my friends in college were like, dude, like she's a crazy person. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I'm in love. Like this is how it's gonna be. You got to accept it, or like you got to be gone.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, dude, like we were just worried about you. You know, you
Yeah.
gotta come back to school, and rightfully so. I appreciate that. You know, my friends that I grew up with were all like, dude, like this girl's not good for you, man. Like
Yeah.
you're being an a-hole, and like you're throwing your friends aside.
Yeah.
And fortunate enough, like my friends are good enough people that they were like, okay, he's just going through something right now. Like they didn't just like toss it aside. But
Right.
it did take a while to work that relationship
Yeah.
back up again. But yeah, it was just like at this point, I was living in her house. I wasn't living at home anymore. I wasn't living in a dorm. I really had nowhere to go, so I was very dependent on like being there. And then it
Wow.
was like, and then we said, all right, we don't want to live at your house anymore. Like, we'll get an apartment. So we got an apartment. Thought, all right, well, we'll be on our own.
Yeah.
She just didn't want to work. So it's like me working like 2 jobs, like crazy.
Oh,
like,
man.
couldn't afford the rent, and then we ended up getting evicted. And then it was a situation where it's like, then it was my fault, like that I wasn't working enough to support both of us. So it's like, hey, like it doesn't work that way. Fortunate enough, yeah, my friends were like, look, dude, you just got to break up with her. We had gone to like a 2-day music festival. Like, you got to come with us. You got to come camping with us. Like, get your head straight. And then, like, literally, they took me to a payphone. Like, call her right now and break up with her ass. Like, she doesn't know where you are, and you're not gonna have to do it face to face. Like, because you're gonna cave if you do.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I called her and I said, look, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, I'm with my friends, and like, they're right. And sure enough, I kid you not, stalker, another big red flag. She actually followed me all the way. She found out where I was. Called my parents. Said it was an emergency. You need to get in touch with me. I said, well, he's way up in northern New Hampshire, like, and in Lincoln, New Hampshire, like, and yeah, she made her way up. Fortunate enough, at that time, I had gotten kind of word that she was on her way, so I had left because I didn't want to. I was like, look, guys, nothing against you. Like, number one, I'm ill-equipped to camp. 2, like I gotta go. So I ended up going back to my parents' house, and and then inevitably, broke it up. But then it was kind of one of those like situations where like she was continued to call, like, I really want to have a conversation, really we just want to get closure, this all this stuff. But it was just all a ploy to rope me back.
Why don't you want to be with me
yeah,
anymore?
Crying, and she was crying like, I don't understand why why you're being so mean to me, and I mean, fortunate enough, I stuck with my guns. And I didn't. But there was a while there was like, there was a couple like in between like booty calls was like, sucked you back in. But if I can't rationalize with you, I'm gonna do the next best thing. That I'm gonna sexualize you, which will work for a while. Fun story. She said, look, I have some stuff of yours. You have some stuff of mine. Let's just meet for dinner or movie or something. We'll trade off stuff, and we'll just put it into this. And sure enough, I was like, all right, look, like, we can grab a date and then go to a movie, like, as friends. And like, we spent 2 years together, something like, we don't want to, as toxic as it is, maybe we could remain friends.
Right.
And she's like, was really super nice through dinner, and then we got into the movie, and then it was like she was back to the same old, like, get me this, get me that, get me. And I literally, fortunate enough for me, I had enough balls at that time for having left and been away for a while that I was like, fuck you. And I just left, and I left her at the movies, and I went home.
Wow.
And
you left the movie theater.
I left the movie theater. Right,
which is
it says a lot. If anybody that knows me knows, like, I never leave a movie. And I literally
lived there.
I literally was like, fuck this. I got back in my car, and I left. And her dad called me and was like, why'd you leave my daughter at the movie theater? Like, I had to go pick her all the way up. And I'm like, sir, like, I don't mean any disrespect, but your daughter has some problems.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be with her. And I made that really clear. And, and he was like, okay, like, her own father was like, I get it. Like, I get it. I'm like, that's why I left. Like, I had to cut myself off from that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have any contact with her. Like, and no respect for you. I hope it all works out. Like,
it was almost like, I mean, it was a succubus.
Yeah.
It really was.
It just sucked the life out of me.
It really did, yeah.
Yeah, and then I, unfortunately, stupidly enough, rebounded right away with somebody else who was just hell-bent on, like, getting married right away.
Oh, man, those are the worst.
I was like, God, no, like, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I liked your family. We got along. But then it was the same thing over again. Like, we lived together for a little while, and I found out she was banging some other guy. Like, and then stole all the furniture from my apartment.
What?
Yeah. Came home one day, and then her dad had moved all the stuff out because she told her dad that I was the one that was, like
Of course.
cheating on her, and I was like, dude, like I caught her like pretty much banging her coworker like at work when I went to go visit her, and so it was like it was a whole nother thing. So at that point, I just decided to kind of be single for a while, and I was like, look, I can't work these like part-time jobs anymore. Like, can't be busting my ass. So, fortunate enough, I happened to look online or look in the paper back when they looked in the paper for jobs. They were looking for a landscaper at a local college, and I was like, great, I can go to school for free, and I can go work there. And
Oh, that's right.
work outside. So, and that's where it went. And fortunate enough, day one, I met my wife on the first day of school.
That's
And,
right.
yeah, and we dated, and then she dumped me.
Really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, her parents were putting a lot of pressure on her to really focus on school. Like, you don't have time for a boyfriend, and so we went on a few dates. We had a good time, and then it was one of those like, look, like I really just got to focus on my school right now.
Which is total opposite what you're used to.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. And then I kind of had made the comment, I'm like, look, like,
oh, that's right. I do remember this.
I said, look, like if I'll take you any way I can get you. So if being your friend is like the best I got, then I'm happy to just do that. And then we spent a good month just hanging out as friends, and then eventually we said, look, like screw this, like screw what your mom wants.
Yeah.
Let's date. And then by February we were engaged, and then a year later we were married. And,
wow.
So it was pretty quick and pretty crazy.
Maybe I'm switching the stories around from what you told me, and it's been a while. Wasn't her dad part of the landscaping company or something like that, or is that a different story?
No, her dad. Funny enough, I knew her dad. My wife's dad was an absentee father. Like, ditched out on her and her sisters when they were very young. Her dad actually worked at the grocery store, and when I worked at a video store that was right next door. And her dad used to come in with his partner at the time and rent videos all the time. I knew the guy by name. I recognized him.
Wow.
And it wasn't until after we were like very close to being married, we're looking at their family photos, and I'm like, who is that guy? Like, I know that guy. And they're like, oh, that's my dad. Like, yeah, he hasn't been around in like 15 years. I'm like, he comes to my video store. He works at a grocery store.
Oh, no.
He still works at a grocery store to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like works tonight. And every now and then when I go into town, like back home in New Hampshire where I'm from, I will stop there. Like I've had a couple conversations with him. He knows who I am.
Yeah.
We've had a couple conversations about like, hey, like, what's the deal? Like,
yeah.
You've done a lot of emotional damage, like to your daughters. And
yeah.
Now you have grandkids, and you're never going to see them because you won't have that relationship. But I just want you to know that, like, I'm married to your daughter, and she's going to be okay. And even if you never see her again, like, you need to know that. So I don't want you to die knowing that you don't have grandkids out there. So I'm telling you now. Has not changed his willingness to be around, and I think at the point now where nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I think it's so messed up because usually the good women you find have some sort of traumatic upbringing like that.
Terrible.
Yeah, and it's a shame that that's what makes them amazing, Yeah. And it's like you love even harder now.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like I think just general like relationship advice is that like recognize that everybody's gonna come with their own set of baggage.
Yeah.
Like I came in with my own baggage, like she came in with her own baggage, like people still have baggage to this day. You pick up baggage along the way.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, and they're just you have to always make the decision on whether that's baggage like you can accept and work with, or if baggage that's detrimental to your well being and you have to like not be with it anymore.
Right.
So I think that's like always. I think people come in with a clean slate and they really do not. They've been at the airport for 30 years and have a ton of baggage with them. And it's rare that somebody doesn't come in with baggage, even if they think they don't have baggage.
That's a red flag to me.
They probably do have baggage. Like they're like even if their family life was perfect, maybe it was too perfect, and that's baggage in itself.
That's true. Yeah. And you never got to experience anything.
Yeah.
You're maybe a little spoiled, which isn't a problem unless you make it a problem.
Yeah, maybe not a huge issue, but it's still baggage all the same.
Yeah.
Like compared, nobody grows up and has the same experiences, so it's just understanding that. But
It's so. I wanted to wrap up as far as the like how you gain that confidence as far as with
Oh,
that girl.
yeah. So
It was more so like the fact that you just didn't want to put up with it anymore, or was it a switch in your head, or
yeah, I think well, number one, it was still a very much a long term like approach.
Mhm.
I think I had to get personally like, and this is for anybody else struggling with this as well. You have to be able to get to the point where you accept yourself.
yeah,
Like first and foremost, like even when I was even like in the early parts of my relationship, I still never felt worthy enough. Like,
wow,
I never felt like I was doing enough or like I was in a good enough position, you know. And that's harder to do. I will say like very early on. It's hard to feel a level of self-worth like I was married young, I had kids young. It was a struggle. You know,
yeah,
it was like struggle raising a family and trying to like, you know,
absolutely,
to be a man when you're, you know, or in a provider when like you have a lot of baggages coming into it.
yeah,
So I will say like the first and foremost for me was like just getting over like identifying the things about myself that I maybe wasn't like 100% like that made me feel uncomfortable.
yeah,
You know, at the time it was my weight. I was a really heavy guy. I hadn't gone to college yet, or I
hmm
hadn't successfully gone to college yet. So not only did I feel like kind of ugly, but I also felt like uneducated, even though that
right,
maybe wasn't the case.
yeah,
But so I think for me, it was like, all right, well, what can I do about that? The weight stuff took a while to figure out. So it was more just the education piece. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back to school. Like, so I went back to school. I went back part time. You know, kind of started checking off degrees
hmm
like as I went. Fortunate enough, working at a college made it easier.
yeah,
You know, my wife was going to college too, so it was like for a while it was more about getting her through school because
yeah,
that's a commitment I made to her family. Was like, you know, I'll get her through her degree because that's if you know we get married and you know start having a family, like she can still go to school. Like
yeah,
I'll still commit to that. Um, and then I think that things slowly started checking away. I think also you know being in a relationship long term, it's just kind of like okay, like somebody accepts me, even if nobody else in the world accepts me. Like I
this
think,
person's with
and I
me,
think having kids as well as like kind of help with that. I was like, all right, like look, like this is who I am. Like I think I understand it. Like stopped. I started caring more about what like my kids thought of me and less about like what everybody else thought. So it's like, okay, my kids love me for who I am. So like, fuck anybody else if they don't like it. You don't have to be part of my life if you don't like it. Like I'm gonna accept you for who you are.
yeah,
If you don't accept me for who I am, like that's on you. That's not on me.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely,
so I think over time, I think that built up. But I think that's part of like I think just the growing process,
uh-huh.
like and being part of like people's personal growth. Like I think everybody's been in that spot of not feeling good enough. Even if
Yeah,
you're the best of the best, you always have that. I mean, you hear that all the time. People are like, I'm like, you know, go to Ivy League schools and it's not good enough. Like I
right,
was as good as my parents, you know. And I think that's part of it is, you know, my parents were they were hardworking. You know, they didn't have college educations. Um, you know, they had their own business. They were very successful. At that time, you know, when they were figuring all that stuff out, I hadn't figured that out yet. I didn't realize till later in life, as my parents got older, before they passed, it was like I didn't realize that my dad had changed jobs like umpteen times. He worked at a hat factory, worked as a stockbroker. I didn't know that he had failed out of college because he never studied, and
uh-huh.
even though he got straight A's, he didn't show any of the work on this one exam, and he failed. Like he decided not to go back. He's like waste of time.
Yeah,
Went to the Coast Guard instead. So I it's kind of funny hearing that story like way late in life. I was like,
right,
wow, like you think you're very different from your parents, but in actuality, you're very very similar to your
absolutely,
similar to your parents. You're like, wow, I didn't realize you guys struggle with that stuff too. You know,
yeah,
my mom came over here from the UK, so not being an American citizen and like trying to make your way without a formal education in the U.S. Like, you know, she had to make her own way.
yeah.
So I think it's just all those life lessons.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
well. But
Again, it goes back to what you were trying to, instill to your kids as far as listen to what I did.
yeah,
Take my knowledge. Don't gain the wisdom. Like
yeah.
gaining the wisdom's a lot harder. Just listen to what I'm saying because this is how it goes.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
what I've been
I'd like to
through.
think they listen, and a lot of times they do. There was other times that they're just
I
like,
remember.
you know, I tell my daughter, like, look, like, I don't tell you this stuff because I just like telling you this stuff. I telling you this stuff because there's actual like factual information behind
Yeah.
that. Like, you know,
Something about that real life on the job experience though. It just
yeah,
it straightens you like, holy shit, Dad was right. Like,
yeah. And it's funny. We just had this conversation the other day. My daughter was struggling and in one of her classes, but she didn't want to maybe necessarily put in the work. And
yeah,
I was like, look, tell my wife, let her fail. And she's like, no, I can't let her fail. It's gonna like screw her GPA up. I'm like, look, let her fail. Has to spend the entire summer in summer school, away from her friends, not do anything, to be behind. It's a hard lesson, and I don't want her to have to learn it. But if that's a way to get her to buy into it, let her fall on her face.
Yep.
Like, see how it happens. Like, can't always catch her all the time. It's better fail now in this than fail in life otherwise. And, so I told her that. I said, hey, look, like, I'm not going to hound you about doing your homework for this one class. Like, I'm not going to remind you. Like, I'll remind you if you choose to do it or not. Like, that's on you. But when you fail, here's what's going to happen. And, like, sure enough, like, she was, like, getting her homework done. She was like, whoa, like, you mean you're not gonna hound me to do it? Like, I'm like, no, like,
why not?
just know, like, hey, you fail, you go to summer school, you don't get your license, you don't hang out with your friends, you got to spend all summer in summer school, you be doing other things.
Straightened right up.
So yeah, she was like, all right, working through the weekend. No, I gotta hang out with friends this weekend. I got to do this. I got to do this annotation for my book. All right,
hell yeah,
fair enough.
Heck yeah.
So
that's nice. Good job, sir.
No,
that's a good lesson right there.
Yeah, sometimes you got to fail to succeed. That's.
I said in the previous podcast, like, I've failed 90% of the things I've done.
Yeah.
And that's what makes those 10% things even more amazing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like you appreciate it. It's like I learned like how not to do things.
And I think that's the same thing could be said about relationships, right? Like, you're gonna, like, yes, the whole point is not for you to succeed 100% of the time in relationships.
You don't want to, yeah. It's not going to happen.
To perceive that if you want a relationship, it's really failing 99% of the time to find the 1%.
Absolutely.
To make it work,
that
right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's okay if, like, you have, like, if you've had 20 relationships and they all been colossal disasters, like, hopefully you're just looking for the one.
If you're a good person, like, with the right intentions.
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, I mean, if you're a good person, you just want a good, healthy relationship, like, you just got to find that one counterbalance to that. And if you don't,
got to put in the work.
And the other thing I'll say too, just on a side note, is, like, I think it's also, like, I hear this a lot. Like, I see people kind of complain about their relationships, or, like, here's the thing: is, like, it's perfectly fine to say when something is not working out.
Yeah.
Like, I think people evolve over time to say, like, hey, I think people have different, like, emotional connections with people as they get older. So I would say, people say, like, well, like, in a different life, right? Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, like, I'm connected to this person, but obviously there's circumstances were different.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a different story.
100%.
But at the same lines too, when you find yourself, like, and it's funny because it just tends to be, I always hear this in the context of, like, office relationships and things like that, or people, like, kind of hooking up on the side. And it's like, hey, when that consumes the majority of your thoughts, it's time to maybe reevaluate your current relationship. If you're thinking so much about somebody else, like, in your relationship with them.
100%, yeah.
And I think people just are fear of failure and failure in relationships. They don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they tend to stay in long-term relationships that they probably shouldn't.
They're not happy in. Yeah.
They're not happy, or, like, give yourself a opportunity to be happy. If you're truly not happy, go be happy. Like, there's nothing in the rule book that says you have to, like, stay in a relationship.
No.
If it's not working for you.
It sucks. It sucks. Breaking up. It sucks being broken up with.
It's literally a song. It's called "Breaking Up Is Hard to Do." Like, if it was easy, they wouldn't have made that fucking song. Like, like, we would have zero romantic comedies. Like,
exactly.
Like, I mean, there wouldn't be such thing as drama.
Yeah, I mean,
it sucks. It's
but
hard.
but again, it's either that or you go to summer school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, if it's not, it's funny. My wife and I are it's kind of funny. I think we have a pretty honest relationship. We've always said, like, hey, I would rather you be upfront and honest with me. If it is not working, we can part ways amicably.
Yeah.
But if it's a situation where you're not being faithful and you're, rather be with somebody else, and you're going through sneaky methods to do that, then that's where it's not going to be amicable.
Yeah.
So, like,
I will get you for everything you got.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of, like, hey, like, do the right thing, because I think it's hard to break up, but it's probably harder to break up when you're, caught doing something you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and then you feel like a shitty person when you get caught.
Yeah.
You should, like, there's no reason to do that. Just leave.
Just leave.
That your significant other is going to be upset, but they're going to respect you. Like, hey, look, I can't be with you. I don't want to cheat on you.
Yeah.
And I have feelings for someone else, and you're probably going to hate me for a while, but it's better than cheating on you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have enough respect for you to tell you that.
Exactly.
Versus, like, doing it behind your back.
Yeah.
So, like, and maybe that's not the case. maybe we can work it out. Like, I don't want to put false hope out there.
Yeah.
But, it's
At
just
this
that
moment, yeah. To
Yeah.
be honest.
And they may be better off for it. You hear a lot of stories about that where, like, hey, we broke up, but then I found this other person. Or, hey, I gave it my shot with this other person and they shot me down. And I realized I was like, well, that was a fuck up because I just threw away, my relationship. So, I mean, it's just, to your point, it's about being honest and being upfront and being.
Honesty goes. I mean, it's so cliche, but they say it for a fucking reason. It's like honestly, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
It's like, cause then
It's literally the best policy.
then you get caught, and then you're an asshole. You're a cheater. You're a scumbag.
Yeah, and that's gonna fall you into. And think of it this way too, like that person that you're doing that with, is also gonna recognize the fact that you are.
I never
a
understand that.
And so they're gonna know that, and then when you're in that committed relationship with them, they're always gonna have in the back of the mind, well, what if he falls in love with somebody else? They're gonna have that self doubt.
It's very rare, and I've seen it happen to. It's like I just didn't want to be with the other person anymore, and this is who I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, you should have done it differently. Okay, I respect it, whatever. But I'll never like. My thing is, I get upset with the girl that was the cheatee, not so much a cheater, gets upset when the guy who left the girl for her cheats again.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. It's like you overlook this huge character flaw of this person. Like, well, he loved me more. We're like, did he really? Though?
No,
'cause
you gave it up.
There was an overlap.
Yeah.
Like there was the overlap. You were the overlap, and now there's more overlap.
There's more overlap on your end now.
So that's I think people get.
And you can't be mad at that. I don't think the girls should be mad at that. And it's like, no, you're the one, dingus.
No. I mean, yeah. Here's the case. Yeah, there are probably circumstances where somebody cheats one time and they never do it again. And
no one's perfect. Yeah.
No one's perfect, but I would say probably a good chunk of the time, if somebody cheats, it's probably very likely they're going to do it again.
They're repetitive, yeah.
If the circumstances, time it right, they're going to do it.
Exactly.
You just may not find out about it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be better the second time around. It's like a career criminal, right? Like you steal your first car, it's probably very sloppy. You steal your 500th car, it's probably a very clean process. Like it's no different than somebody that cheats or lies. Like, and that's why in listening to previous podcasts, which was great, with kind of the younger generation using like things like Tinder and stuff. It's like I always was a fan, and even if I were to divorce tomorrow, like I would never go on any of those apps. There's nothing that will replace for me going to a bar or going to another spot and having a human conversation. Because
Absolutely.
You know why? That stuff people can lie, and if people are really good at it, you'll never know.
Yeah.
But at least if somebody's gonna lie, at least they got to do it to my face.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's just some.
And I think over time you have a good discernment of like the vibes that someone's given to you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think
kind
you
of
can
bullshit.
be a good people reader, but when you're online, you're just a good reader.
You're just a good reader.
You're reading their fucking profile.
Yeah, you can look at pictures pretty good.
You can pictures pretty good. You can swipe left or right pretty good, but when it comes to face, you're oblivious. So,
Yeah. I want to touch on one last thing for your marriage because you lasted so long.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest successful thing that y'all stayed with to make it so successful?
I'm going to give you two. One, we laugh a lot, and it's usually about each other.
Yeah.
Like we usually can laugh at each other.
Because that sound like polar opposites.
But we are total opposite, which is
awesome.
super funny. So for me, I love getting out there and doing things.
Yeah.
I'm obviously try to be as social as I can. I love talking to people. I love movies. So my wife, on the other hand, is very much an introvert. Like going out and doing a lot of stuff in social things just is not her scene. You will not find her at a bar. We went to the movies last night, and like I will say, probably it's a rarity that there's a movie we both agree on like seeing. But I will say that like there's just we respect each other's personalities. Like she knows that like I am not somebody that's going to sit in the house all weekend.
Right.
Like unless I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And even then, I'll probably still go out. So she understands that. So when I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna go run to the gym and do this, like I'm gonna go do the podcast, like perfectly okay with it. Like respecting the fact that like that's like I'm just not a person that will sit stagnant. Like I also respect the fact that like when I'm like, hey, do you want to go do this? Like, or if like people are grabbing drinks or something, you want to come? Like, I'll still offer.
Yeah.
I know the answer is going to be no, but I just feel like
But you're
there's
still
just a level
including
of
her.
respect.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever want to come, like that's always the thing. Is like you're welcome to come. I know it's
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone, and like, but you're welcome to
Absolutely,
you're
yeah.
welcome to come, and that's perfectly fine. But I say like we honestly we razz each other a lot, and in a good like humor way. Sometimes we have to remind the kids of like, hey, like we're just picking on each other, like honestly, like, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, my wife always kids me like I take longer to get ready in the morning than she does. But
You are pretty stylish, sir.
I appreciate that. I was sorry. I just want to look good for you. You know? So, and I think the other part of it is to like just learning to accept the things like accept that people have character flaws.
Mhm.
You know, there's going to be things like there's going to be days where you're gonna drive the other person nuts,
Right.
Like, and recognizing that like that's okay, and to understand how to react when they're having that day.
Mhm.
Like there are plenty of days like see I'm somebody that is always like if I'm agitated or like upset about something I want to talk about it right then and there. Like,
Yes,
let's get it out in
absolutely.
the open. My wife is the exact opposite of that. It's like leave me alone, let me
yeah.
process like because it's always like if you keep badgering me I'm gonna lash back and I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna be hurtful.
Mhm.
I don't want to say that and like not be able to take it back. So recognize the fact that like okay like in the off chance like the very few times we do argue or disagree about something that it's like okay I respect how you process that like,
Right.
and okay fine like we're going to talk about it we don't have to talk about it right now as well. I will say we don't you know I always say the first 5 years though like we had some rough times you know
Oh yeah.
early on. I mean, we had 2 kids at a pretty young age. We were young ourselves. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of money. I joked. I was doing the taxes the other night, and I was joking around the kids. We were trying to teach them life lessons about like, oh, this is what you got to do when you're an adult. You got to do your taxes and all the shit that goes along with it. And have my glasses on. I'm at a computer looking like tax preparer, which I was at some point in my life.
That's right.
So, which is even funnier. But my daughter, she said something. I'm like, look, like, I will tell you right now that my very first tax return with us being married was actually what I filed for my income was less than what I make for my bonus every year. So I'm gonna tell you that much right now.
Wow.
So I'm like, that's crazy to think that was our first year of marriage. Like that's like we didn't have money.
Yeah.
We
Y'all had each other.
We had each other. We had cars that were breaking down all the time. We had heat that was getting shut off. Like
Man.
it was just that's the type of shit that'll like either make or break you. I just say we were just too stubborn to like let it slide. So
Yeah.
we just kind of trudge through it, and now we're better for it.
Yeah.
Now when that shit comes up, it's like it doesn't come up, but I mean
Yeah.
like if something hard happens, we got each other's back about it.
I didn't quit in the beginning.
No, you didn't
And-
quit.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's like relationships are not easy. They're hard.
Yeah.
They're you get married. It's hard. You're taking people that you're living with somebody. You're saying I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. We're not going to be the exact same person.
Right.
And it's understanding that is okay, and that you're going to evolve over time, and hopefully you evolve. Over time together. I find that we have a lot more in common now, 20 years later than we did, 20 years earlier. So I think that's great. Some people, it doesn't always turn out that way, and
Yeah.
that's okay too. But yeah, I would say, just laughter is a huge part of it. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
I pride myself on being a big dork, and I joke around a lot. But it always gets her laughing, and that's okay. Like that makes
Yeah.
me feel good. So,
That's awesome.
but.
Man, sir, we didn't even get to dick pics today.
Yeah, I'm just thank you for reminding me. Just a real quick. Okay, guys, look, dick pics are very complicated. Okay, and I will say, number 1, never send them unsolicited.
Golden rule.
Golden rule 2, unless you're hanging major meat, don't send one. Period. Okay, like seriously, unless you got something to write home about, like, to brag about.
Unless you got one leg and a dick.
Yeah, if you're just the average Joe, and you're-
Average Billy Joe.
Average Billy Joe.
Billy Joe Armstrong.
please listen to our other podcasts. probably do not put that out first. Like even if she asks for it, and don't find somebody else's dick pic online.
Yeah, because one day you might have to show it to her.
Yeah, you may have to show her, and don't tell her that you're a grower, not a shower, because I don't think people buy that nowadays.
Can you imagine, like, being like younger now, and like having that pressure of like sending pictures like that?
Oh man, I could not. I mean, thank God for AOL and dial-up. It took
Right.
20 minutes to download a set of boobs. So I wouldn't. It's so crazy to think that that's like, people are coming. Do you guys not know what the internet is? It does exist. Like it goes in the cloud. Okay?
My rule
it'll
is
last
if it's on
forever.
the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah, it is there forever. Even your your old like screen name when you're in high school is
Oh
out
my
there
God.
somewhere. So I would say that's a good rule of thumb. It's like, hey, number one, don't ask for nudes. Like if somebody wants to send them to you and you're okay with that, awesome. If you guys want to exchange pics, that's great. But
Yeah,
no unsolicited dick pics.
absolutely.
Please, like I'm sure she doesn't want to see that, and and guess what, guys? If you're hung like a mammoth, that also might be scary as well. That may not get you a date. So I'm saying it could backfire on you as well. Like, I'm huge, and then somebody sees that, it's like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with the anaconda?
You're gonna like rip me in half? Like,
That's
what's
right.
going on?
That's like seriously. There's no amount of Pilates that I could do to make weight. There's no amount of yoga.
I have to stop doing Kegels.
That's like, seriously. Yeah, so that could backfire for you. Just a good rule of thumb is dick pics are not good.
Yeah,
That's not good for the internet, for you.
be a mystery.
That's right. Be a mystery. You know
Yeah.
what? You really want to impress, and you're in that home. Wear tight pants on your first date.
There you go.
Wear those skinny jeans that can't everybody.
And you know
suck
what?
on.
And if you're not dangling,
That's okay.
boost up your confidence, be funny, and pick up a hobby.
That's
Be
right.
pick up an instrument. Learn how to play an
Yeah,
instrument.
learn to play an instrument and be good with your hands and a lot of other ways.
There we go.
That's right.
That's sage advice, sir. Before we go,
Yes.
so when I rebooted this podcast, me and you started the horror podcast.
Yeah.
It was just me and you.
Yeah.
This episode marks our 50th episode, and it's me and you.
50.
How cool is that, sir?
That's super cool.
We started
man.
in October, and we're already
Yeah.
at 50 episodes.
Crazy.
It's been amazing.
So
and
much
this,
content. We
this
got
this
action
hour,
and
yeah,
horror and wrestling and
movies,
now,
love
now we
advice.
got, now we got love advice.
Like we're growing, sir.
We're
Like
growing.
this is like I'm always taken back. Like I'll be driving home, my long journey home, and I'm just thinking about it. Like I couldn't have done this more so without you, and of course the rest of the gang. Like though all of y'all, it has been such making this a thing. So I just wanted to say thank you again. I know I always do that. Even in our groups, I'm like, I couldn't do it without you.
I mean, we love doing this, and I actually was very excited. Like I purposely asked you, I was like, I want to be on this relationship.
I
podcast.
feel like there's so much more we can do. Like I know we're hitting an hour. I don't want to waste people's time even more because I think this was probably an amazing episode. It really was. I didn't mean to talk about just your marriage or
No,
the
it's
whole
okay.
time.
I told you ahead of time. Obviously, gonna be an open book.
Yeah.
And transparent because I think that's like, I think it's important for people to.
But I do want to do a part
looking for
two.
advice.
I do want to do a part two with this.
Yeah, let's do part
As far as like breaking down maybe the ins and outs of sexual intercourse, as far as like not how to do it, but how to approach a woman, how to talk to women, which leads to making out, leads to first, second, third, and you hit a home run.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't look like as a precursor for part two of this. You don't want to try to do things that somebody's not comfortable with. Okay.
You know what's funny? I had this question written down for my previous one. I didn't even get to ask it. I was like, how do you ask for the sex you want? Like, because I think that's an important question because, I mean, everyone has their own kinks, And I think I don't know how to edge into that conversation.
I think it just depends on where you are in the relationship and
Yeah.
saying, hey, like, I really want to try this. Like, are you down for it?
Yeah.
And that person says no, letting it go.
You gotta let it go.
Got to let it go.
Hey, man.
If they say yes, like, then you figure it out together,
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely in the heat of the moment, don't try things without asking. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. We're not even gonna say.
I'm not even gonna say, but Look, like it goes both ways. Okay.
Well, one shouldn't go both ways. One should be exit only.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're down for that.
Yeah, unless you're down for
that's
that.
okay too. If you're a guy and like some pegging,
Hey.
or if you're a girl and
You know,
like the chocolate starfish, you're all right. It's all good. We can dig into this in part 2, though. I think it's important because
It really is.
It could be a very awkward
it
conversation.
is, and that's what I wanted to do. Like I think expanding on this, it really had to have those awkward conversations where we can get people comfortable talking about this stuff. That way,
because people do it.
yeah, quit being creepy. Not harming women. You know what I mean? As far as like having the confidence to be able to do it normally, and maybe help stop spreading STDs.
Yeah, I mean, that is wrap it up, people. That is
I know it sucks. I hate condoms, but wrap it up.
Yeah, look, nobody. Doesn't matter how sexy you are. If you are that Chris Helmsworth, if you got some BDs,
some love bumps on your ding dong.
Yeah, that's treatable, yes, but still not a good way to start the day.
That being said, sir, thank you so much for doing this with me. I can't wait for the next one. We hit a home run on this episode, and it was amazing. I was just like, I can't believe that. I mean, we're already at an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh,
yeah,
past the hour.
Yeah, exactly. So this is great. But I do appreciate you, sir.
Always.
Of course, if you want more Derek, just text his podcast Massacre, just going commando. He is going to be on the Stable of Studs podcast one day, and it's going to be great. But if you want more of me, of course, just follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it, all right, guys?
Let us know what topics you want to talk about in relation to love and sex and all the other stuff that comes along with relationships.
Send in the questions at Tank_Rodriguez on Twitter, the Tank Rodriguez on Instagram. I got to get better with the social media and getting us all on board. That way we all have access to it. But that's been on the back burner.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I think would be a great episode is an episode full of people that don't want to be in relationships.
Oh, don't want to be. I have all your ideas on this sticky.
Like living single,
Asexual.
Yeah, well, not even that they're asexual. They just don't want to be in a relationship. Maybe they just want to fucking leave, or
hookup culture,
or maybe they don't want to be dragged down. They got their best life going on, single.
Absolutely, I think that's where I'm at in my life right now too. I think.
That's right.
But yeah, sir, that's a great idea. I think we'll find someone who is like that. Yeah. We'll bring them on. Maybe you can help us with that too. Yeah. That'd be awesome. But yeah, thank you again for listening, guys. We'll see you on the next one. See y'all later.
See ya.